Hello everyone, this is part 6 of What If Naruto Was the God of Fuinjutsu, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Jiraiya was stunned, no to say that was an understatement. We barely got into his training and he already got the Rasengan completed. Jiraiya walked forward and looked down at his student who smiled back. How simple, I used my Fuinjutsu, Naruto said and watched as Jiraiya looked on confused. It's simple, I couldn't focus on two things at once, gather my chakra and spin it. So I created a new seal that does the spinning for me. The seal is designed to activate whenever I place chakra into it, so now I can pull out my Rasengan just as fast as you. Why didn't I think of that? Jiraiya threw his hands up in the air with a little bit of anger. Because you were too busy looking at girls, Naruto said, but looked back at Tsunade, who was helped to her feet by Shizune. I guess that means you're coming with us. Tsunade tried to get to Naruto, but was stopped by the pain shooting through her back. Why did you teach him that jutsu, Jiraiya? Tsunade glared at Jiraiya, who smiled at her. Fine, don't answer me then. So you beat me, brat, I guess everyone gets lucky every now and then. Tsunade reached up and gave the necklace to Naruto and proceeded to try and get away from him, but was stopped by Naruto's voice. Where do you think you're going? Naruto turned to Tsunade just as he placed the necklace around his neck. You also have to come with us to Konoha. Sun just gritted her teeth and glared at Naruto, who smiled back. A deal is a deal. Naruto just stared at Tsunade, looking directly into her eyes. Listen Tsunade, I just want to say one thing. Hiding isn't going to make your demons go away. The only thing you can do is go and face your demons, and then and only then will you be free. Tsunade turned her head in a huff and was led away from the away to get the wound on her back treated. What if she tries to leave? Naruto looked at Jiraiya, who watched his teammate leave. Well, we'll just have to keep a close eye on her. Jiraiya winked at Naruto, making him groan. What did I do now? Jiraiya watched as Naruto walked away with smile on his face. You're still a giant pervert, Ero-sensei. Naruto said as Jiraiya got angry at his name again. I told you to never refer to me as that, you brat. Jiraiya screamed as he began to chase Naruto once again. Naruto took off in a full run, wearing a smile that would put a fox to shame. If you're going to punish me, you have to catch. Naruto laughed as Jiraiya began to run faster, trying to catch up to the much more energetic Naruto. XXX. Senji was tied down by his hands in a dark cell, but all the while that smile never left his lips. Suddenly the door opened up and in walked three individuals. One was a girl, the other was the man he talked to, and the last one was wearing an orange mask with a spiral. So this is the one. The orange-masked man said. Yes, he wants to join us. Pain said as he looked at Madara with no emotion. And why should we do that? Madara looked at Senji, who smiled at him even bigger. Because even through these chains are absorbing my chakra, I can still put up quite a fight. Senji said this as he stood up, making Konan wrap him in her paper. Stop, let's see what he can do. Madara said with a wave of his hand. Konan reluctantly released Senji, who smiled all the more. Senji shut his eyes and began to hyperventilate, making the three look at him in confusing. Suddenly Senji's eyes shot open and revealed enraged eyes. The group watched as a seal expanded along his arms, but that wasn't what surprised him, it was the fact that his muscles were growing. Senji shot his arms upward and shattered the chains that held him in place, making the three stare at him in surprise. You see, I had a partner that had a unique seal, Senji said this as he calmed down and the seal began to disappear along with the new muscle. The seal that was designed to tap into his anger, not his chakra. What the seal did was simple, it increased his strength in proportion to his anger. So when he decided to put his seal to better use. Madara nodded his head and looked at Pain, who just stared right back. That was quite impressive, but we will need a much more decisive verdict. Madara looked at Senji only to see him a few feet away from him. What did you have in mind? Senji said with an unnerving smile. Madara looked on with a single eye shining in the darkness. You will fight one of the Akatsuki in a fight. Madara said this as he turned around. If you win then you join, but lose we'll KO where you stand. Madara turned around to see Senji busy stretching his back. Bring it on. Senji smiled at Madara. Follow me and chose your opponent. Madara turned and led the way out of the cell with Senji right behind him. The two enter a room with all members of Akatsuki staring down at them. Toby, what are you doing here? Deidara screamed out. Madara quickly adopted his Toby personality and charged directly at Deidara. I wanted to see you again, Deidara-senpai. But before he could reach, he was punched in the face by Deidara, but his arm went right through his head. I hate it when he does that. Deidara shook like he was cold, but still gave Toby a glare. Who is this asshole? Hiden said while he held his prayer necklace. Everyone stared at Senji before turning their attention back on Pain. He wishes to join, but first we need to test him. Pain stated plainly. He looks Seraph weak. Senji's hand twitched, but he still smiled. He has the choice on his. Pain never finished when Senji walked forward. I want the freak with the prayer necklace. Senji's eyes were almost glittering with happiness, but underneath was rage. You think you can beat me? Hiden looked slightly offended. I be sure to sacrifice you to my god Jashin. Senji began to laugh at the name of Jashin, which made Hiden go mad with rage. The god Jashin. Senji seemed to have taken great pleasure in hearing that name. Well, you better be praying to your god for help. Senji simply sidestepped the blade and tried to deliver a kick to Hiden, but he jumped backwards, avoiding the kick entirely. How dare you insult my god, you heretic? Hiden dropped into a stance with an evil glint in his eye. I'm going to make sure your death is as painful as possible. Senji just shook his head. If that is the case, then why don't I let you have the first attack? Senji held his arms out. Go ahead, I promise you that this is the only chance you're going to get. Hiden got mad at that point and ran at Senji before swinging his side sideways, nailing him in the stomach, giving Senji a nasty gash. Now you will suffer for you, Hiri. Hiden stopped when he looked at his side and didn't see a drop of B. Hiden looked at Senji and saw his B slowly, almost a crawl, dropping to the floor. I did warn you. Senji smiled as he tore his shirt and wrapped up his stomach. Now it's my turn. Pain, on the other hand, had a different idea in mind. Pain threw one of his chakra receivers at Senji, who turned around just to see the point of the pike. Then, to everyone's surprise, the receiver slowed down, allowing Senji to move out of its way lazily and gently grab it. So that's it, Pain said as his Rinnegan shined in the darkness. You're using a Jikuken ninjutsu, space-time techniques, to slow down time in your personal space. Senji smiled as he just broke the pike in two. Why, out of all the enemies I've ever fought in my time, you're the only one to have figured it out. Senji actually began to clap at Pain. I'm impressed. Does that mean I get my wish? Pain looked thoughtful for a moment, but he took a quick look at Madara, who gave a quick nod. Very well, Senji, welcome to Akatsuki. Senji just smiled even bigger and cracked his knuckles together. XXX. What did you say? Tsunade stared at her old teammate in shock. Orochimaru smiled as he figured he had Tsunade exactly where he wanted her. Heal my arms and I'll bring your dear brother and lover back from the dead. Orochimaru smiled as he realized he had Tsunade exactly where he wanted her. All you have to do is heal me and you can be reunited with your loved ones. Lady Tsunade, you can't be seriously considering this. Shizune looked at Tsunade with shock in her eyes. Think about what my uncle would have done. Orochimaru began to laugh. Look at her, she is more than considering it. Orochimaru looked at Tsunade, who seemed to be conflicted. I'll give you one day to decide. Until then, Tsunade. With that, Orochimaru and Kabuto both vanished in a swirl of fire. Tsunade. Shizune couldn't finish as Tsunade turned on her heel and began to walk away. I'm going for a walk, Shizune. Tsunade said this in a way that made it clear that she wanted to be alone. Tsunade. Shizune thought as she ran to warn Jiraiya of what just happened. Shizune arrived at the apartment to find Naruto sitting in the lobby with a book, but Jiraiya nowhere to be seen. Damn that pervert. She was about to turn around when Naruto called to her. You looking for Ero-sensei? Naruto asked, looking up from his book. Yes, do you know where he is? Shizune smiled at Naruto, who just shrugged. He said something about talking to Tsunade. Naruto closed his book and placed it inside his shoulder seal. Why don't you sit down? I'm sure he can handle Tsunade just fine. Shizune just shook her head and went for the door, but Naruto spoke again. He already knows about Orochimaru. Shizune stopped dead in her tracks and looked back at Naruto, who pulled out his book once more. What do you mean? Shizune turned around and looked directly at Naruto. Before you guys left, he managed to place 2 seals on the both of you. Naruto continued to look at his book. One he said would track you and the other would allow him to hear your conversations. Shizune looked stunned, but Naruto continued to speak. He said that if one seal was destroyed he could track you with the other. This was all to make sure that Tsunade didn't try and make a run for it. Shizune breathed a small sigh of relief and moved towards Naruto, noticing the necklace he won from Tsunade on his neck. Should I warn him? Shizune looked at Naruto as he finished his book and stretched his arms. Naruto, about that necklace, it's curse. This made Naruto raise an eyebrow. Everyone who has ever worn that necklace has D except for Lady Tsunade. But instead of freaking out like she thought, he was calmed and even shrugged it off. I guess I'll have to change that, because I'll never D, not until I become Hokage. Naruto said this with a fierce determination in his voice that seemed give off courage. Come on, let's go to bed, it's getting late and I'm tired. Naruto yawned and turned and began to walk upstairs with Shizune watching him. XXX. Shizune woke up the next morning expecting to see Tsunade, only to be greeted by nothing. That was when she remembered Orochimaru's offer. Shizune got up as fast as she could and ran for Naruto's room. She knocked on the door and Naruto answered, rubbing his eyes. Shizune, what's wrong? Did Jiraiya come back? There was a slight panic in her tone which woke Naruto up more. No, he never. Suddenly a kunai sailed by Naruto's ear and hit the door frame, missing Shizune by inches. Naruto turned around and was about to throw a kunai aimed at the man's head when he realized it was Jiraiya. Jiraiya was gripping onto the window frame for support as he breathed hard as if he ran for days. She drugged me, Jiraiya said, and that was when Shizune went to work to help. We need to hurry, she might already be with Orochimaru. Shizune nodded her head while Naruto looked out the window with narrowed eyes. What are you doing, Tsunade? Naruto thought as he looked back at Jiraiya. XXX. I need to talk to you, Nagato. Pain stopped dead in his tracks and turned to see Madara approaching him. Yes, Madara. Pain said, standing at full attention. I want you to watch Senji. Madara lone eye narrowed, making Pain nod. Whatever he is truly after, we have to make sure he doesn't interfere in our plans. Don't worry, he will be watched. The two looked at each other once more before parting ways, but unknown to either of them a small bird was resting on a window sill. The bird flew off and flew through the buildings until it came to rest on Senji's shoulder. The bird leaned forward and began to chirp into his ear. I understand, thank you. The bird gave a small bow and vanished in a puff of smoke. So they think they can stop me. That is so pathetic, it is laughable. I think in due time I need to show them that you can't control the actions of a true god. Senji sat in the dark and began to laugh as he thought about all the things he would do to the Uzumaki when he caught him. XXX. Kabuto dodged yet another attack from the enraged Tsunade, who was looking to K. If she hits me, it is game over. Kabuto actually began to sweat as he continued to jump backwards until he hit a boulder. Damn. Kabuto looked forward and saw Tsunade raising her fist up to deliver the K blow, but Kabuto quickly brought a kunai up and slashed his hand open. The B splashed on Tsunade's face, making her stop in shock. B. Tsunade froze and brought her hands up to her face with wide eyes. Kabuto smiled and delivered a swift and brutal kick to her side. You call yourself a medical ninja? Kabuto smiled as he slowly approached her. You're pathetic now, D. Kabuto brought a chakra-enhanced hand towards Tsunade's throat, but was forced to jump backwards to avoid a barrage of kunai. Kabuto looked up and saw Jiraiya, Naruto, and Shizune standing in front of Tsunade. That is quite enough, 4 eyes. Jiraiya said in a snarl. Naruto looked behind him and saw Shizune trying to calm Tsunade down. I guess we're on our own. Naruto asked in a polite voice as he took off his cloak. Jiraiya looked back and saw the state Tsunade was in and growled. All right, Naruto. Jiraiya turned to see Naruto already running towards Kabuto, who just smiled at the blonde. Damn him. Jiraiya was about to run at Naruto, but was blocked by Orochimaru, who smiled at his old teammate and friend. And where do you think you're going? Orochimaru said with a snake-like smile. Jiraiya just gritted his teeth and dropped into a fighting stance. Shizune, stay as close to Tsunade as you can. Naruto screamed out as he released his shuriken. Things are about to get a little rocky. Naruto threw his shuriken at Kabuto, who dodged, but the shuriken disappeared into a puff of smoke, revealing a cage bunshin. Kabuto managed to bring his hand down just in time to punch the clone in the head. Kabuto turned his head and saw Naruto already next to him, throwing a punch that caught him in the face. Kabuto was sent spinning backwards, but not until he kicked Naruto in the side. The two combatants were sent spiraling in opposite directions until they came to a stop facing the other. You've improved from our last meeting. Kabuto smiled as he rubbed his jaw, noticing the wet feeling. If that impressed you, I have some good news for you. Naruto smiled as he held out his hand. You haven't seen anything yet. Kabuto watched as a small sphere started to form in his hand. XXX. Orochimaru dodged a fireball sent his way by Jiraiya. Why do you bother with that useless boy? Orochimaru said in a mocking voice. I have an eye for talent and all I see from that boy is idiocy. Exactly. Jiraiya said, confusing Orochimaru. Why would I want to teach someone who already has everything to be a good ninja? It's not ninjutsu that makes a ninja, it is the guts to never give up, and Naruto has that in spades. Orochimaru chuckled as he looked at Jiraiya with a glint in his eye. Oh, he reminds you of you. Orochimaru took a slight glance at Naruto and saw him holding the Rasengan, giving Orochimaru a surprise. Impossible, no child should be able to master a technique like that. XXX. Kabuto watched the sphere spin a little more before speaking. Why do you want to protect her? Naruto looked at Kabuto with wide eyes. Tsunade said she doesn't want to go to Konoha, so why bother protecting her? Naruto's eyes narrowed slightly. Because she might be a when it comes down to it. Tsunade looked at Naruto as he brought his free hand up and formed a tiger seal. But she is still a member of Konoha and I won't give up on her. Kabuto went to run at Naruto but suddenly found himself unable to move thanks to a cage bunshin. What when did he? Kabuto was snapped out of his thoughts as he saw Naruto suddenly take a running start towards him. Won't have enough time to dodge. Naruto brought his hand back and then rammed it into Kabuto's stomach. Rasengan. Naruto yelled out as his clone vanished and Kabuto began to scream, but unseen from Naruto, Kabuto managed to bring his hand up and take a chakra-infused swipe at his chest. Naruto pushed one last time and sent Kabuto backwards, slamming into a boulder. Kabuto collapsed on the ground only to see Naruto standing above him with a slight glare in his eyes. Well, what are you waiting for, Kami? Kabuto said from his position on the ground, but to his utter surprise Naruto just shook his head and began to walk away from the downed shinobi. What are you doing? Even if you don't wear the headband, you used to be a Konoha nin. Naruto stopped as he felt pain shoot through his chest, but he kept going. I'm not going to KO you this time, but if you ever try to hurt my friends. Kabuto watched as Naruto suddenly collapsed on the ground in a huff, making Tsunade run over to check him out. Kabuto watched as Tsunade tried to heal Naruto. Why? Kabuto narrowed his eyes at Naruto. Why would he keep me alive? Tsunade started to panic as Naruto's heart stopped and Kabuto felt his teeth clench as he bit back a retort, but suddenly Naruto's hand came up and gently smacked the top of Tsunade's head. Why are you crying? Naruto stared up at Tsunade weakly. I thought I told you I won't die until I become Hokage. Kabuto just laid there with wide eyes as he saw the boy smile and fall asleep. I don't understand. Kabuto bit his lower lip as he gently rose up. That should have KO'd him outright. Kabuto looked over and saw Orochimaru heading his way as Jiraiya began to perform seals for a summoning. Lord Orochimaru. Kabuto bit his thumb and rubbed his B on Orochimaru's summoning tattoo. Tsunade bit her own thumb and began to perform hand signs. Then all at once the three shinobi slammed their hands on the ground. The entire area was covered in a thick layer of smoke, but when it cleared the three ninja were standing on massive creatures. Hand me the boy, Orochimaru said while he was on top of Manda, which hissed at him. He could become trouble for us all if he is kept alive. Tsunade looked at Naruto and thought back to what he said. She looked at Orochimaru and sighed while she gently slapped her forward. Alright, so you want him, you can have him. Tsunade said, surprising everyone. Over my dead body, because like him or not he makes a lot of sense. I may not like this, but I have been selected to become the next Hokage of Konoha. So I won't hand over my shinobi to you without a fight. Orochimaru sneered and looked to see his former friends and teammates getting into fighting positions. Orochimaru saw no other way around it and the giant snake charged at the two with deadly intentions on its mind. Just hold on, brat. Tsunade looked back and saw a mini slug pick Naruto up and jump down. I still have a score to settle with you. With that she also charged ready to D for a fellow Konoha nin. Tsunade takes up the mantle of Hokage. Just to let everyone know, I won't be continuing with the Sannin fight because it's just going to happen the same way it did in canon. The group slowly began to see the front gate to Konoha, which made Naruto smile, but also brought about a feeling of sadness. After being away from the village he got used to the kind faces he saw outside of the villages, but he was still happy that he can now see Hinata again. Naruto looked back and saw Jiraiya and Tsunade talking about the old days while Shizune just listened with a smile. Hey, guys, is it okay if I go on ahead? Naruto shouted, making the three look at him. Sure, Naruto, go on. Jiraiya waved to his student and watched him run like he was being chased down by rabid animals. If I only had his energy. Jiraiya rubbed the top of his head as he watched Naruto stop at the gate. After getting past the guards, Naruto made his way over to his favorite ramen shop, but just as Naruto was about to get close he spotted something that caught his attention. Hinata and Tenten were walking together when they also spotted Naruto. Naruto, you're back. Hinata ran at Naruto and gave him a hug with a kiss to the cheek as well. Yeah, I just got back. Naruto said with a smile. How about you all join me? I'm going to get some ramen. The two girls nodded their heads and walked with Naruto into the ramen shop. So Tenten, you wanted me to look at a weapon seal. Tenten's eyes immediately flew open with eagerness in them. Here you go. Tenten gently gave Naruto the seal as they sat down at the booth. Tenten watched as Naruto's eyes narrowed in concentration as he took a bottle of ink and a brush and began to work on the seal. Hinata smiled at Naruto as she gave Tsuki the order of ramen Tenten, Naruto, and herself wanted. After about a minute, Naruto finally took his eyes off the tag and laid his brush down. Are the weapons already sealed inside? Naruto asked and watched as Tenten nodded her head. Alright, let's see if this works. Naruto slapped the seal on the ground and applied chakra. Suddenly a small circle could be seen about 3 feet away from Naruto when a sword suddenly shot out of it. That'll work, Naruto said with a smile as he passed the seal off to Tenten, who accepted it with a big smile. Thank you, Naruto. Tenten turned and began to eat while Naruto wrote a quick sketch of the seal for future use later on. Naruto turned to Hinata just as she shoved his chopsticks in his mouth with noodles on them. Stop working and eat, Hinata said with a stern look on her face, but Naruto could see the blush on her cheeks. Oh, I will start to eat, but not until this. Naruto gave Hinata a kiss that made her blush even more, but a cough behind them caught their attention. Naruto turned and saw Hiyashi along with Neji standing directly behind the two. Hello, Hiyashi-sama, Naruto said with a smile. Hello, Uzumaki, I hate to ruin your evening, but Hinata is needed back at the compound for further training. Both Hinata and Naruto looked a little disappointed, but didn't argue. Hinata gave Naruto one last kiss on the cheek and followed after her father, who was walking away. Naruto smiled himself and turned back to his food to finish his meal, but no sooner had he finished that an Anbu appeared behind him. You are needed in the council room immediately, Uzumaki-san. The Anbu gave a small tilt of his head as Naruto paid for the food and turned to follow the Anbu. XXX. We can't do that, Tsunade yelled out as she was trying to convince the council to stop what they had planned. Tsunade, if Naruto keeps going on missions like these, then we might lose one of the strongest Konoha shinobi. Koharu said as Homura and Danzo nodded their heads. The door opened and Naruto stepped inside before popping his neck and fingers with a bored expression on his face. Okay, so what do you people want now? The council flinched at Naruto's tone and lack of respect in it. You will show us the proper respect we deserve, brat. Danzo said. Naruto looked at Danzo as he looked back. So what is it this time? Naruto turned to Tsunade, who was just shaking her head. They're trying to restrict you to the village. Naruto just groaned and shook his head. I thought I already said this once, I don't need your protection. Naruto looked at the council and they all looked into the boy's blue eyes to see his anger and pain. I'm not going to be part of this. Naruto once again turned to leave, but was stopped when Danzo banged his cane on the ground. You will sit down and listen to what we have to say. Danzo said it in a way that left no room for auguring. We are trying to help. Last time I checked I needed help when I wasn't a ninja. Naruto stared up at the Warhawk, who seemed to have this air of anger around him. But you people didn't want to help then. So I will say this one last time, I don't need you to interfere with my life. Naruto turned on his heel and was about to head to the door when he remembered something. Oh. How is Rock Lee, Kakashi and Sasuke holding up Tsunade? Naruto turned to see Tsunade smile at him. They are doing just fine, you can go visit them if you like, but I still have to wait for Rock Lee's answer on if he wants his surgery or not. This confused Naruto, but decided to ask Lee at the hospital. If I don't get the QB under control, Konoha will lose its strongest weapon. Danzo thought as he gripped his cane while growling low in his voice. Danzo turned and began to leave the room, but Tsunade kept a close eye on the old war hawk. Jiraiya, I think we need to keep a close eye on Danzo. Tsunade looked at Jiraiya, who nodded his head. XXX. Naruto made it to the hospital and asked the nurse where was Rock Lee's room. The nurse looked at Naruto for a second before telling him the room. Naruto walked towards Lee's room when he heard a voice coming from the door. Naruto recognized the voice as Lee's sensei guy, and Naruto could tell from the tone in his voice that it was serious, but before Naruto could turn away he heard one sentence that chilled him. The surgery could kill me. Lee said without any of his enthusiasm in his voice. Naruto heard Guy sigh from the other side. Tsunade told me about the risks. Naruto could hear the slight depressed voice in Guy's voice. She said that you won't be strong enough to survive the treatment, but you want to know what I said, Lee. Lee just shook his head as he waited for his sensei to tell him. I told her she was wrong. I told her that you had the strength to live through anything. You told me that your dream was to be a splendid ninja using nothing but taijutsu. Well, Lee, you can still make your dream come true. I believe that you can survive this treatment and that you will be stronger because of it. Lee looked a little uncertain about it. Do you mean it, Guy-sensei? Guy seemed to be taken back by Lee's question, but he quickly recovered and smiled down at his student. Lee, I mean it with every fiber of my being. Naruto smiled as he walked away, but he was still worried over Lee, but he had a feeling he was in good hands. Naruto made his way to Kakashi's and Sasuke's room, but when he went in he saw that Sasuke was missing, with Kakashi laying on the bed with his book. Kakashi-sensei, what happened to Sasuke? Kakashi looked at Naruto then went back to his book. He asked the nurse to let him grab some fresh air. Kakashi said, turning a page in his book. I think he said something about the roof. Before Kakashi could say any more, Naruto already left the room. Maybe I should tag along. Sasuke's been acting very strangely towards Naruto lately. Kakashi closed his book and got out of bed. XXX. Naruto opened the door leading to the rooftops and saw Sasuke staring at across the village. You know they've been talking about you. The tone in Sasuke's voice put Naruto on edge, but he still approached his teammate with more caution. They've been talking about how I lost to you. This time Sasuke turned and Naruto saw hate, just pure hate reflected in his eyes. Sasuke, Naruto said in a confused tone. And now to further it, my brother is after you. Sasuke stood up and walked towards Naruto with deadly intent in each step. He is not supposed to be after you. He is supposed to be after me. What is so special about you, tell me. Sasuke started to get closer to attacking and Naruto knew it. Sasuke, you need to calm. Suddenly Naruto felt the need to duck and was lucky that he listened to his senses. Sasuke flew over his head with his Chidori fully charged as he glared at Naruto. Naruto looked at the Sasuke he was talking to and saw that it disappeared in a puff of smoke. What were you doing? Naruto dropped into a fighting stance as Sasuke chuckled. I wasn't going to kill you, yet. Sasuke looked at Naruto with his Sharingan spinning madly. All I want to do is see what makes you tick. Sasuke charged again, but this time Naruto was waiting. Naruto ducked below his arm and spun around, kicking Sasuke's legs out from underneath him. Sasuke felt himself falling, but just before he hit the ground he outstretched his arm and spun away from Naruto. Sasuke landed on his feet and charged his Chidori yet again, but Naruto already began to charge his Rasengan. Sasuke's eyes narrowed as he looked at the sphere of chakra. What is that? Naruto just shook his head. Sasuke, I'll say this one time only, back down. Sasuke looked stunned from Naruto's words. I don't want to hurt you. Sasuke began to laugh. You could never hurt an Uchiha. Sasuke charged while Naruto shook his head while he ran full speed at his teammate. Kakashi suddenly made it to the roof, but saw that Naruto and Sasuke were already throwing their jutsu at each other. Damn, I'm already too late. Kakashi tried to make it, but the two collided, causing air pressure to start to force Kakashi to hold his ground. Kakashi looked up and saw that Naruto was getting pushed back, which surprised him. Kakashi revealed his Sharingan and saw that Naruto was slowly decreasing the amount of chakra to the Rasengan. What is he doing? Sasuke smirked as he started to push with everything he had, causing a loud screech to be heard. Suddenly Naruto threw the arm holding the Rasengan upwards, forcing Sasuke to follow it. Sasuke looked down at Naruto and tried to bring his Chidori on his head, but Naruto grabbed his wrist and then his throat. Sasuke was about to retaliate, but Naruto quickly jumped back. What did you figure out you can't? Sasuke's words were cut off when his Sharingan and Chidori was suddenly deactivated. Sasuke kept trying to reactivate his Jutsu and Sharingan, but to no avail. What the hell did you do to me? I placed a chakra seal on you, Naruto said, pointing to Sasuke, who looked down and saw black marking all over his arms. I placed it on you when I grabbed your neck. Now I just want to talk with you. Why should I listen to you? Sasuke screamed out in rage. Because I won't release the seal until you do. Sasuke growled at Naruto with anger in his voice. What happened to you, Sasuke? I mean, we're teammates and we're friends, but lately you've been acting like an asshole. Why? Sasuke just shook his head with a twisted smile. You want to know why? Naruto nodded his head. I already told you at the Chunin exams, remember? I don't have to explain myself to you. Naruto just shook his head and with hand sign released Sasuke from the seal. I don't know what's happening, but I can say this, Sasuke. Naruto said with concern in his voice. If you don't get off the path you are on, then you're going to die. Sasuke just smirked and walked over to the ledge of the building before jumping off. Naruto looked at Kakashi, who smiled, signaling that he would talk with Sasuke. Naruto watched as Kakashi disappeared in a puff of smoke. Sasuke, please stop whatever it is that you are doing. Naruto turned and began to walk down the staircase with a worried look in his eyes. As Naruto walked down the stairs, he heard a familiar voice. Where's Sasuke at? Naruto turned the corner and found himself staring at Sakura. Hey, Sakura, Naruto said with a smile. Sakura turned around and saw Naruto. She smiled as she ran over to him. Hey Naruto, I was wondering, have you seen Sasuke? Sakura asked, but the look on Naruto's face said it all. Yes, but at the moment you might want to stay away from him. Naruto's statement confused Sakura. Why? What happened? Sakura just watched as Naruto shook his head. I don't know, but he's been acting very strangely lately. Naruto said as he looked at Sakura with sad eyes. I just think it would be safer if you just leave him alone for a little bit. Kakashi is already on his way to talk to him. Sakura watched as Naruto walked past her with sadness reflected in every step. What happened to those two? Sakura thought with worry. Naruto continued to walk down the hallway until he ran into Jiraiya. Hey Naruto, just got done with your visit. Jiraiya watched as Naruto turned away with sad eyes. Naruto, what happened? Sasuke is starting to become more and more aggressive towards me. Naruto said as he looked up at his master. He's nearly killed me twice now. I think if he keeps this up he's going to do something he'll regret. Jiraiya's eyes seemed to focus on something in the past, but as quickly as it was there it was gone. Naruto, I think. But it'll be fine. If anyone can talk any sense into Sasuke, it is Kakashi. Naruto smiled at his teacher as he walked past. Jiraiya just watched with a concerned look on his face. I hope you're right, kid. Jiraiya said this before he vanished in a swirl of leaves. XXX. Sasuke was leaning against a tree contemplating Kakashi's words until he felt a presence behind him. Sasuke jumped away from the tree and turned around to see a group of 4 individuals staring at him. Impressive that you managed to sense that we were here. What do you want? Sasuke growled out as his Sharingan activated. Oh, such an angry individual, aren't you? Said the purple-haired one. First let us introduce ourselves. I'm Akon, this is Tayuya, Kidomaru, and this is Jirobo. The people he gestured to never made a move, but the man named Kidomaru smiled at Sasuke. Are you sure Orochimaru-sama wants this weak-ass punk? Tayuya said, making Jirobo flinch. I told you not to use such foul language. Tayuya simply glared at Jirobo, who just stared right back. Orochimaru-sama's orders were to bring him with use back to Otogakur. Saken said, still looking at Sasuke. Orochimaru-sama wishes to make you stronger than you ever could be in this dump. At the word stronger, Akon immediately knew he had Sasuke's attention. He wishes to teach you everything he knows and give you power beyond your imagining, and all he wants from you is for you to swear your loyalty to him. Sasuke looked at the ground for a couple of seconds before he looked up at Akon. You speak of power as if you already have it. Sasuke watched as the group nodded their heads. Then show me your power, and if I take a liking to your power I will go to Otogakure. The group nodded and Sakon threw his head in one direction, signaling a change in scenery. Sasuke followed after the four with a smile on his face. If I'm right, I'll have enough power to finally crush my brother and Naruto into dust. The thought made Sasuke chuckle as he continued to follow the group into darkness. XXX. Naruto was walking towards his apartment when he saw Hinata standing outside waiting for him. Hinata, what are you doing here? Hinata smiled at Naruto as she held out a small bag to him. We never finished our meal. Hinata blushed as Naruto smiled at her. Father said we could finish, but I have to be back in 30 minutes. Naruto nodded his head and took Hinata's hand and took her to the small pond located just a minute from his apartment. The two sat down and ate their meal while they watched the moon shine in the water. Naruto, it's so peaceful. Hinata said this as she snuggled up against Naruto's arm, making the blonde smile. I know, Hinata. Naruto laid his head on Hinata's. The two stayed like that until they noticed it was getting late. Naruto took her home to see Hiashi waiting outside for Hinata. Hello Uzumaki again, you were cutting it a bit close. Hiashi said with a little humor in his voice. It's what I do, Hiashi-sama. Naruto said with a shrug of his shoulders. I guess I'll see you tomorrow, Hinata. Hinata nodded her head and gave Naruto a quick kiss before disappearing into the compound. Have a good night, Hiashi-sama. Naruto said this with a bow and Hiashi returned it, but only a small one. You too. Hiashi turned around and disappeared into the doorway. XXX. Sasuke was laying on the ground breathless. What power? Sasuke said, not believing what he just saw. All this power could be yours, Sasuke, all you have to do is join use. Sakon said as his curse mark receded. Now what do you say? Sasuke looked up at him and smiled. Where do I sign up? Sasuke got up and watched as the group kneeled while Sakon smiled at him. We start now. Sakon smiled as he realized how easy it was to get Sasuke. Orochimaru-sama will be most pleased. But unknown to the group, a slight figure was watching from the shadows, but as quickly as it was there it was gone. Sasuke turned around and narrowed his eyes. I'll be right back. Sasuke vanished, leaving the group behind. XXX. I've got to tell the Hokage what. Sakura stopped when Sasuke appeared in front of her. What do you think you're doing? Sasuke asked without a hint of emotion. You've got to stop, Sasuke. Sakura pleaded. Listen, Sakura, I can't have you tell the Hokage that I'm leaving. Sasuke vanished and reappeared behind her. At least not yet. Suddenly Sakura blacked out, slumping forward only to be caught by Sasuke. Soon, Naruto, we will have our rematch and then I will gain an even greater power, but first I must KO you. Sasuke began to laugh as he laid Sakura down on the bench. Sasuke then disappeared, leaving behind leaves that fluttered in the wind. As soon as Sakura woke up, she headed straight for the Hokage's office, desperate to tell her about what happened to Sasuke. When Sakura told Tsunade, she immediately sprung into action, but she cursed when she realized that she didn't have any more Jonin to spare. I guess I'll have to go with another group. Tsunade went to Shizune and told her to bring in Shikamaru. Shikamaru arrived not minutes after being called, sporting his new Chunin vest. This is so troublesome. Shikamaru yawned, showing that Shizune woke him up from his nap. I have no time for this. Tsunade said this with force in her voice, making Shikamaru stare at her confused. Sasuke has left for Otogakure and we need a team sent after him to retrieve him, but I have no Jonin to spare. So Shikamaru, you need to find 4 individuals that you know can handle this mission. Shikamaru nodded his head and turned around with a little more speed in his step. Shizune looked at Tsunade, who just sighed. Why didn't you also call Naruto? Tsunade looked at Shizune with a raised eyebrow. I thought you gave him the promotion to Chunin. Tsunade chuckled as she looked outside with amusement in her eyes. He turned it down. Shizune's eyes widened in shock. He said if he took the promotion he would end up spending more time away from Hinata, and he wanted to spend a little more time with her. He also said he felt he didn't deserve it, yet something about his fight with Sasuke during the Chunin exams rattled him. Shizu nodded her head and continued to watch her mentor. XXX. Naruto was walking hand in hand with Hinata with a smile that was as warm as the sun. When the pair was about to enter the ramen shop, someone called out Naruto's name. Naruto turned around and saw Kiba, Chuji, Neji, and Shikamaru. I need you for a mission, Naruto. Shikamaru said with authority in his voice. The tone in his voice was enough to make Naruto worried. What happened? Naruto turned around as Hinata looked on with worry. Sasuke has left the village and is on his way to Otogakure. Naruto's eyes widened, but before he could speak he could hear someone breathing loudly. When he turned to the source of it he found Sakura staring at him with tears in her eyes. Naruto, I tried. Naruto's eyes lowered as he looked at his teammate. I found Sasuke talking to these 4 people and then I heard that he was going to leave with them. I tried to get to the Hokage to tell her, but Sasuke found out I was spying on him and knocked me out. I'm sorry. Naruto placed a comforting hand on Sakura's shoulder, startling the girl. Don't worry, Sakura, I'll find Sasuke and I'll bring him back. Sakura looked at Naruto, but instead of seeing relief he saw worry. What is it, Sakura? Before I completely blacked out I heard Sasuke say he knew you would come and when you do he was going to kill you. Naruto looked on with a vague look in his eyes, but Sakura continued. All I'm saying is try to bring him back, but please be careful. Don't worry, I'm always careful. Naruto said with a smile. Naruto turned around and looked at Hinata, who smiled back. I'm sorry, but I've. Hinata silenced Naruto with a kiss that left the both of them with a huge blush. It's okay, but I expect to see you back here in One Piece. Naruto smiled and gave her one last kiss. Deal. Naruto turned and faced the others. Alright, let's go. The group nodded and began the run for the gate. XXX. Fu was thrown to the ground, but quickly spun her body and landed on the ground. Who are these 3? Why do we have to catch this? Hiden said as he held onto his prayer necklace. Because it is an order and it might bring in more money. Kakazu popped his neck and knuckles as he turned towards their newest member. What about you, Senji? I don't care so long as I get to beat that Uzumaki to a pulp. Senji just watched as Fu began to form some hand signs. I don't think so, little runt. Senji suddenly ran at Fu with a speed impossible for any normal old man. Fu was taken by surprise, but before she could react she was punched in the stomach. Fu was sent flying backwards into a boulder that shattered when she connected with it. What are you doing? She is my offering to Jashin. Hiden screamed out while holding his scythe forward. You take too long. If you're not going to finish the fight then I will. Senji didn't even turn around while he watched as red chakra suddenly began to spill out of the ground. Damn. Senji growled out as he saw the dust disappear, revealing Fu covered in her demonic cloak. Fu looked at the 3 Akatsuki members before extending the wings on her back and taking to the sky. And this is what happens when you take your sweet time with Jinchuriki. Kakazu said, looking at Hiden, who glared at his partner. Great, this is going to be bad. What are you talking about? This just got interesting. Senji looked at Fu with a shine in his eyes that made everyone worry. Now show me, little Jinchuriki. Show me your power. XXX. Ishiki was putting on his cloak along with his brother Denpa. So we're going to deliver this scroll to the Hokage. Onanami nodded his head as he watched the 2 shrug their shoulders. One more thing. Onanami said, stopping the brothers in their tracks. Kakuheiki will be coming with you. Why, you said it yourself, he is in no condition to move. Ishiki looked on as his brother tried to convince Onanami that this was a bad idea, but it didn't work. Before Onanami could speak they all heard footsteps and turned to see Kakuheiki walking towards them. I'm fine. Kakuheiki looked tired, but other than that he looked like a normal person. Let's just go and get this kid before I fall asleep again. Ishiki and Denpa just looked at one another with concern, but Onanami just smiled at Kakuheiki. Yes, you should be running along now before he gets too tired. Onanami just waved the group off as they traveled towards Konoha. When he knew the group was out of sight, Onanami's eyes hardened. Please be safe, because Konoha will not give Naruto up so easily. With that, Onanami turned around and headed back into the cabin. XXX. One day later, Senji walked down the dark hallway and threw Fu at the wall, making it crack. Senji was fine for the most part except for a deep gash on his chest that healed slowly. Be careful, we still need her alive. Pain said with a slight tone of anger in his voice. Senji just looked up at him with cruelty reflected in his black eyes. You think just because you have the Rinnegan that it makes you God. Senji chuckled at the thought. But the truth is this: if you can bleed, you're no God. You are just a sad man trying to escape your humanity. Everyone looked at Senji with shock in their eyes. When they looked back up to Pain, they could see the anger just roll off him. Give me one reason why I shouldn't show you how much of a god I am. Pain took one step forward, but Senji stood his ground with a smile. Because I still have information about Naruto and the people going to recruit him. Senji smiled all the wider when Pain stopped in his tracks. And just so you know, I'll keep my end of the bargain. I will tell you about these three individuals. Two of them are brothers. Ishiki and Denpa both are skilled in separate things, but together you won't be able to stand a chance against them. Ishiki specializes in tracking and gathering information through genjutsu by breaking his opponent's mind. Denpa specializes in kenjutsu and ninjutsu. Pain's eyes narrowed at that bit of information. I knew them while I was in Azushiogakur serving as one of the Okaita. They were annoying when they were together. The other was Kakuheiki, a boy I captured and placed in confinement to try and copy his unique ability, but I just got word that Ishiki and Denpa managed to break him free. Who is in charge of this operation to retrieve Naruto? Pain asked, hoping to K the leader before they could get Naruto. I have no idea, but I can say one thing. Senji's eyes gleamed in the firelight, making them look demonic. Whoever it is, one strong son of a. Senji turned on his heel and began to leave when he turned to Toby, who smiled and waved at him. Senji made a small movement of waving, but deep down he was in deep thought. I need to figure out their motives and then I can K them off one by one and gain control over all this power. Senji's smile turned upwards into a sneer as he began to laugh deep down. Senji walked until he was outside and turned back to see a faint glow, and for the first time Senji's eyes took on a look of sorrow. I'm sorry, little girl, but your death will lead me ever closer to my goal. Senji turned around only for a picture to fall out of his cloak. Senji looked down and saw a group of 5 people standing around the Gufukage. Senji's eyes immediately hardened as he looked at the smiling face of Azushio. You could have stopped what happened, Azushio. Senji picked up the picture as he glared at Azushio. It is because of you that I had to choose this path, but I will always keep this picture with me. That way I can remember what I did to ensure I continue down my path. Senji put the photo back into his pocket and began to walk. XXX. Madara waited patiently in the meeting room until he heard the door open. He turned to see both Pain and Konan looking at him. Well, what do you think of him? Madara watched as Pain and Konan exchanged looks before looking back at him. He is a good asset to Akatsuki, but he is hiding something. Pain looked at Madara as he leaned against the wall. We need to watch him careful until we know what. Madara nodded his head. Very well, until next time. Madara disappeared into his dimension within a few seconds, leaving Pain and Konan alone. Konan looked at Pain and saw he had a distant look in his eyes, but before Konan could ask, Pain turned on his heel and walked out the room. XXX. Sasuke. Naruto screamed out as he stopped on the top of a statue of Hashirama Senju's head. Sasuke, stop running. Sasuke stopped on the head of the statue on the other side of the waterfall. Running. Sasuke's voice had a hint of confusion in it. Why would I run from you? I only wanted to pick the perfect place to bury you. Sasuke turned around and Naruto saw that half of his face was covered in black marks along with his left eye being a different color. Naruto just looked on in disbelief as he watched his teammates smile at him. What's with the look, Naruto? Naruto shook his head and narrowed his eyes at Sasuke. What happened to you? Sasuke held up his hands and looked down at them. Power, was Sasuke's response. Power is what's happened to me. Sasuke watched as Naruto glared at him. Sasuke, I'll ask you once. Naruto pulled out 2 scrolls and created 2 clones. Come back to Konoha or I'll break every bone in your body and drag you back. Sasuke looked at Naruto a little bit longer before breaking out into a full-blown laugh. That is a real laugh, Naruto. Sasuke looked at Naruto just as the curse mark began to recede. Don't you see the power I hold in my hands? Naruto shook his head and sighed. I guess I'll just have to break you. Naruto threw the clones the 2 scrolls and they unraveled them. I'll have to thank Tenten for this idea later. Naruto bit both his thumbs and smeared B on both scrolls just as his clones laid them on the ground. Sasuke narrowed his eyes and jumped at Naruto in an attempt to stop his jutsu. Fuinjutsu, Hakuchikan, A.E., sealing technique, graveyard blade. Naruto slammed both his palms on the scrolls. Sasuke heard a cracking sound and looked down just in time to see 4 different swords shooting out of the ground towards his body. Sasuke screamed out as he watched as the blades inched closer, but at the last second Sasuke gripped one of the blades and used it to shove himself out of danger. Naruto watched as Sasuke fell off the edge of the statue towards the water. Naruto nodded towards his clones and they all jumped after Sasuke. Sasuke hit the water and turned around holding up a tiger seal. Sasuke took in a breath and shot a fireball towards Naruto, but Naruto pulled out 2 of his fire tags and fired the fire streams at the fireball. Sasuke suddenly appeared behind Naruto and his clones. He used the fireball as a distraction. Naruto said as he spun his body around to dodge a kick to his head, but his 2 clones were kicked and sent flying until they vanished into smoke. Naruto looked up just in time to get punched in the face by Sasuke. Damn, he got a lot stronger from our last fight. Naruto narrowed his eyes as he saw Sasuke's Sharingan spinning madly inside his eyes. With those eyes and this new power he has, I have to be careful of what I do. Sasuke turned his body around and landed on the statue looking down at Naruto with a smile. This is great, all this power just flowing through me. Sasuke looked like he was about to jump for joy. And soon I will collect an even greater power. The tone of Sasuke's voice changed at that moment, it became darker and colder than ever. Naruto landed on the water and looked up at Sasuke with sadness in his eyes. What is with you and power, Sasuke? Sasuke looked at Naruto as if he never saw him before. Power is nothing if you don't have anyone to defend, Sasuke. The path you're going down is not the path to true power. What would you know of true power, Naruto? Sasuke glared at Naruto with hate in his red eyes. Even right now I can see that power coursing through your body. Naruto's eyes narrowed at that. If my power is not true power, then what about yours? There is no difference in power, only in the way you use them. Naruto said this as he relaxed his stance a little. You use your power to further yourself without helping anyone, but you. While I use my power to help others in need, that Sasuke is true power. Whoever told you that load of BS, Naruto, is lying to you. Sasuke said as he began to walk down the statue a few feet. Power is the ability to crush any foe in front of you, to KO all who stand in your way. Now that Naruto is true power, not all this mumble jumble about protecting others or helping them. Power is meant only to further you in this world. I guess there is no point in talking anymore, is there? Sasuke's answer was charging up his Chidori. Naruto focused his chakra on the seal on his right palm and formed his Rasengan. Are you really going to fight me with that? Sasuke chuckled as he watched Naruto raise an eyebrow in confusion. We already discovered that your pathetic jutsu can't compete with my Chidori. Naruto just shook his head and smiled. If you truly believe that, then come at me. Sasuke glared at Naruto and ran down the statue until he hit the water, causing the water to erupt around him. Sasuke suddenly emerged out of the water, charging straight for Naruto. Naruto stood his ground for a second, then charged Sasuke. When the 2 of them were a few feet away, they attacked. The 2 attacks smacked into one another, making a grinding sound, but Sasuke was shocked to see that Naruto hadn't budged an inch. Sasuke began to push harder on his jutsu while Naruto did the same. The result was the 2 attacks exploding and sending the 2 flying backwards. Naruto was sent splashing across the water until he twisted his body around and landed on his feet. Sasuke ended up doing the same thing, but when he looked at Naruto he was angry. How? Simple, when I first used Rasengan against you I wasn't using it to its full power. Sasuke shook his head and smirked at Naruto. You had me going for a second. Naruto kept an emotionless face up as Sasuke began to chuckle. But the last time we used these techniques against one another I felt that you wasn't holding back. Naruto just walked over to the rock wall, making Sasuke look on confused as Naruto made another Rasengan. This is the true power of Rasengan. And without further word Naruto slammed the Rasengan into the wall. Sasuke watched as the Rasengan dug its way through the wall with ease, but what shocked Sasuke the most was that the entire wall actually began to shake and cracks began to form, making chunks of rock fall into the river. Naruto ended his jutsu and took his arm away. Naruto turned to Sasuke and without looking gave the wall a tap. The result was that half of the wall fell into the water, causing waves. That is the difference between Rasengan and Chidori. Chidori is a assassination jutsu used to get in and get out, but the Rasengan is brute force. It will grind away until you are either launched away from just the force or ripped apart by it. Now I'll ask one more time, Sasuke. Come back to the village quietly or I will break every bone in your body. Sasuke gritted his teeth in anger as he watched the last bit of rock fall into the water. I will not go back to that weakling of a village. Naruto shook his head with his eyes closed. I was hoping not to resort to this. Naruto opened his eyes and was immediately covered in red chakra. I gave you a choice, Sasuke. I won't let you go. Sasuke watched the red chakra surround Naruto, but Sasuke just laughed. Don't you remember that power of yours is useless against my Sharingan? Naruto narrowed his eyes as Sasuke continued. The last time you used it against me I saw through everything you did. You can't beat me with that power. If I recall that last time we fought with me using this power you lost. Sasuke's laughter right there replaced with anger. I will kill you, Naruto. Sasuke growled this out as his curse mark began to glow. And then I will have an even greater power. Naruto just entered a battle stance and got ready. Sasuke charged Naruto as he went through hand signs. Kaiten, Gokakyu no Jutsu. Sasuke launched the fireball at Naruto, who narrowed his eyes. Naruto jumped over the fireball only to hear the sound of chirping birds. Naruto turned his body just to miss Sasuke plunging his hand through his back. Naruto kept turning while keeping his right arm held out to hit Sasuke in the back, but when he connected, Sasuke vanished into smoke. Cage Bunshin. Naruto landed on the water's surface and looked up just in time to get kicked into the water. Naruto's head emerged from the water and just as he looked up he saw Sasuke holding a Chidori with black markings all over his face. I hope this hurts. Sasuke plunged his hand into the water, confusing Naruto until he remembered one thing. The Chidori was a ball of crackling electricity. Naruto felt the electricity flow into his body, causing Naruto to scream in pain. Sasuke lifted Naruto out of the water and threw him into the rock wall. Naruto crashed into the wall, making a human-shaped crater, but when Naruto went to move, Sasuke jammed his still active Chidori into Naruto's chest. I guess you lose. Naruto looked up to see Sasuke smiling at him. Sasuke ripped his arm out of Naruto's chest and began to walk away while Naruto slowly closed his eyes. XXX. Kyuubi's eyes opened to see Naruto lying face down in the water. You should be grateful that I'm inside you. Kyuubi chuckled as he poured more chakra into Naruto. And soon everything about you will become mine. Kyuubi began to laugh as his chakra descending onto Naruto. XXX. Sasuke was about to jump when he felt a strange feeling. Sasuke turned around just as a punch was sent into his face, sending crashing into the other side of the canyon. Sasuke jumped out of the wall and looked to see Naruto with his red chakra taking the form of a fox with one tail. How that should've. Sasuke looked at Naruto's chest to see it completely healed. Now where were we, Sasuke? Naruto said as he got down on all fours with an animalistic smile on his face. XXX. Ishiki was talking to his brother when he stopped. Denpa turned to his brother just as Kakuheki stopped as well. What is it? We have a very big problem. Ishiki said as he turned to the source of the power. Naruto is using a lot of Kyuubi's chakra. This made the other two look at each other in surprise before turning to see Ishiki jumping towards the source of the demonic chakra. Hold on, Naruto, just hold on. Denpa and Kakuheki followed as they charged through the forest to get to Naruto. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.